Welcome to the first open house for the Cliff Road County Road 32 traffic study. You will be learning about the study, including study background, existing conditions, study goals, considerations, proposed alternatives, study schedule, and how to provide your input. The study includes the Cliff Road corridor between Johnny Cake Ridge Road and Pilot Knob Road in the city of Eagan. Since the existing signal at the intersection of Thomas Center Drive Beacon Hill Road is nearing the end of its service life, the City of Eagan and Dakota County are performing an assessment of various traffic control options along the corridor, focusing on both the Thomas Center Drive Beacon Hill Road intersection, referred to as Thomas Center Drive for the remainder of this video, and the Thomas Lake Road Stonecliff Drive intersection, referred to as Thomas Lake Road for the remainder of this video. Cliff Road is an east-west minor arterial roadway running through the city of Eagan and connects Trunk Highway 13 to Trunk Highway 3. The corridor also serves as a connection to both I-35E and Trunk Highway 77. Within the study area, this roadway serves between 15,000 and 18,000 vehicles per day and has a posted speed limit of 50 miles per hour. The Thomas Lake Road intersection currently operates with side street stop control. The intersection with Thomas Center Drive is controlled with a traffic signal. This traffic signal was installed at this location in 1990 when Stonecliff Drive didn't exist to the south and Thomas Lake Road was a T intersection. In the late 1990s, Stonecliff Drive was constructed to the south. There is a mile spacing between Johnny Cake Ridge Road and Pilot Knob Road, with Thomas Lake Road falling approximately half mile from each. Starting in 2003, Dakota County and the City of Eagan have been looking at intersection control options along this section of Cliff Road that would meet each of the study goals. Each of these goals provide unique insight into a solution for the traffic control along the study corridor. So, what are the considerations to ensure the study goals are met? The first consideration is access spacing. It is well documented and understood that as access along a corridor increases, mobility and safety decrease. A study cited by the Federal Highway Administration shows that for each additional signal over 2 per mile, travel time increased by over 6% and crash rates also increased substantially. By planning and managing access along county roads, Dakota County can minimize the opportunities for crashes to occur while still making sure drivers get where they need to go. To make the best decisions on where to locate access points, Dakota County's 2040 Comprehensive Plan identifies guidelines and standards. Following these guidelines, Cliff Road within the study area is identified as providing full movement access spacing of a half a mile. The second consideration is the different types of intersection control that will accommodate existing and projected traffic volumes along the corridor. Intersection control types include an always stop, which was briefly considered for the study but dismissed since traffic volumes are not balanced between Cliff Road and the intersecting roadways, and also due to the speeds along Cliff Road exceeding 40 miles per hour. The second type of intersection control considered are traffic signals. Traffic signals are usually used on high-volume roadways and serve collector or arterial corridor intersections. According to federal and state guidelines, a signal should not be installed at an intersection unless a traffic analysis is performed to determine whether the installation is justified. There are 9 identified signal warrants, with the main warrants analyzing vehicle volumes, pedestrian volumes, and crash experience. It is important to understand that even when an intersection meets warrants, it doesn't necessarily mean that a signal is the most appropriate intersection control method for that intersection. The third type of intersection control considered are roundabouts. Roundabouts are usually used on moderate to high volume roadways that have a need to improve traffic flow. Roundabouts tend to have a higher construction cost with more right-of-way needs. In the existing condition, the signal at Thomas Center Drive is approximately 1/3 mile from Johnny Cake Ridge Road and does not meet county access spacing requirements of a half mile between signalized intersections. When signal warrants were analyzed, It was determined that the existing signal does not meet any of the 9 signal warrants as outlined by federal and state guidelines. In order to comply with county access spacing guidelines and for a proposed signal to be justified, alternatives being considered shift the full access intersection from Thomas Center Drive to Thomas Lake Road. At this new location, access spacing of a half a mile from both Johnny Cake Ridge Road and Pilot Knob Road meets county guidelines, and from a volume perspective, a signal is justified here. Different traffic control considerations are being looked at for the full access intersection at Thomas Lake Road, paired with different access scenarios at Thomas Center Drive. Access at Thomas Center Drive would be accommodated with partial access and could be either a 3/4 access intersection or a right-in, right-out access intersection. A 3/4 access intersection would allow all movements from Cliff Road onto Thomas Center Drive, but movements turning from Thomas Center Drive onto Cliff Road would be limited to right turns only. Right-in, right-out access allows only right turns from Cliff Road and onto Cliff Road. Alternative 1A includes a signal at Thomas Lake Road and a 3/4 access at Thomas Center Drive. This alternative does not restrict access into the commercial site on the north side or the neighborhood on the south side, but access out of these roadways would be restricted to right out only. Southbound vehicles wanting to go east would simply utilize Thomas Center Drive to access the signal at Thomas Lake Road. Northbound vehicles wanting to go west would utilize Covington Lane to Stonecliff Drive to access the signal at Thomas Lake Road, or Covington Lane to Johnny Cake Ridge Road to access the signal at Johnny Cake Ridge Road. Other options would include taking a right onto Cliff Road and utilizing the signal at either Thomas Lake Road or Johnny Cake Ridge Road to make a U-turn. Alternative 1A also accommodates pedestrian crossings at the signal and provides half-mile spacing that meets the county guidelines. Alternative 1B includes a signal at Thomas Lake Road and right-in, right-out access at Thomas Center Drive. This alternative allows right turns to access the commercial site on the north side and the neighborhood on the south side. Access out of these roadways would also be accommodated by right turn only. Left turns into the commercial site to the north would be accommodated by taking a left at the Thomas Lake Road signal to Thomas Center Drive. Left turns leaving the commercial site would use Thomas Center Drive to the signal at Thomas Lake Road. Left turns into the neighborhood to the south would be accommodated by turning south at either the Thomas Lake Road signal or Johnny Cake Ridge Road signal to Covington Lane. Left turns out of both sites would be accommodated as with Alternative 1A. This option also accommodates pedestrian crossings at the signal and provides half-mile spacing that meets the county guidelines. Alternative 2A includes a roundabout at Thomas Lake Road and a 3/4 access at Thomas Center Drive. The 3/4 access would be utilized in the same fashion as Alternative 1A. This option also accommodates pedestrian crossings at the roundabout and provides half-mile spacing that meets the county guidelines. Alternative 2B includes a roundabout at Thomas Lake Road and right-in, right-out access at Thomas Center Drive. The right-in, right-out access would be utilized in the same fashion as Alternative 2B. This option also accommodates pedestrian crossings at the roundabout and provides half-mile spacing that meets the county guidelines. Alternative 3 includes a two-way stop at Thomas Lake Road and at Thomas Center Drive, with Cliff Road not being controlled. This alternative does not restrict access into the commercial site on the north side or the neighborhood on the south side. This option does not provide ideal pedestrian crossings and does not provide spacing that meets the county guidelines. The county and city are in the process of defining what to build and are hoping to gain your input in order to determine a preferred alternative to move forward with. The completion of the study will be in June, with another open house scheduled prior to completion to share study findings and the chosen alternative. Design is scheduled to start upon the study completion, with construction scheduled for the summer of 2021. We want your feedback. We want to hear your thoughts on the study corridor, areas with existing issues, experiences you've had as a motorist or pedestrian, and any other input you'd like us to know as we move forward. Please submit your questions or comments via email or on the study website via the virtual comment card or interactive map. Be sure to visit the study website often so you can stay up to date on all things study related.